after the podcast, I went to Alabama, took in the bird migration with Zane, tons of photos, met some really cool people that we're actually going to hook up with this next spring on another migration area over in Ohio and Lake Erie. And then went to Minnesota and had 3 days where I did nothing but take pictures of loons and loon babies and stuff like that. Came back, did a couple trips to the park, and then we went to Mexico for a week. Went to Chichen Itza, got to see a bunch of the Mayan stuff, hung out with the family, did the vacation. 2 months later, I'm in Nepal.
Wow.
That was all in 1 year.
You went to Mexico right before school started.
Yep.
Yeah, because I remember you stopped by after you were working out, and yeah.
So, yeah, it's been a pretty cool year.
Yeah, what did we do? We made some breakfast burritos.
Maybe we need to, I don't know.
And then we made some more breakfast burritos.
Yeah, and that's what we do.
Holy cow. We got to get out more.
No.
Maybe we just need to have a camera and a 9-to-5 job, and maybe we'll get out more.
No, you don't. That's what I've realized is I have too much of a normal job.
Oh.
I can't do as much as I want to do.
We don't do anything.
I know.
Anything.
But you know what? This is why we need to be doing more podcast episodes so we can live vicariously through Cole and more people like Cole. Because we can't get out, but hey, we can all meet down here.
Right.
And live vicariously through you.
I will say, I was surprised, when I came back, of how many people were like, dude, I saw your stuff on Facebook and Instagram on your trip. I mean, it was got to be the most amazing thing. I mean, I didn't realize how many people were actually going to be like, check out what he's doing.
Yeah, following along.
Yeah, I didn't think that. I didn't really realize that at all, that it would be that people would be that interested.
Oh, of course.
So I don't know.
Because I think we're all living in our little lives, and we all get caught in the same routine and the same whatever, and we're like, we'll get around to going and do something, or I'll go do that trip or whatever. Most of us, 98% of us, don't make it happen. And then all of a sudden you're just out there making some things happen. And I think, we're all like, oh, he's actually doing it. So in a way, I think a lot of us do sit there and live vicariously through you. We're like, look at that. Look at the places he's saying and the experiences.
So, I mean, that's been kind of cool for people to be like, we're like people that I don't even know. Like, I'll be down at the brewery with a beer and somebody be like, hey, you're the guy that went to Everest. I'm like, oh, yeah, you saw that. And they're like, well, yeah, we saw your pictures and we followed you on Facebook and saw all this. I mean, and then I have to tell the whole story. And I'm just like, I can't believe, people I don't know. I mean, I really guess I never put that together because the trip was for me. Yeah. And then half the reason I put anything on Facebook and stuff is that's the only way I could, show the kids and Shasta what I was doing, because there wasn't enough service to make a long phone call. But you had enough service here and there to post a couple of pictures or something like that. And because everybody over there has a phone and the internet. Yeah. But, so it's like, well, at least they can see what I'm doing, because I can't talk to them. I think I went 8 days without actually having a conversation with anybody from back here before I had plenty of time. But yeah, and then just to find out how many people were like, dude, we followed the whole thing.
Did you feel free by that? Or did you feel like an anxiety about, did you feel like, do you see what I'm getting at? I mean, you want to call home and you want to talk to family, but in a way of being unplugged like that, was that...
No, not at all. I didn't have any anxiety. I almost wish it was unplugged more. Yeah. I was shocked, actually, when we started hiking and everybody had a cell phone. Like, my guide was getting phone calls the entire time I was there. He had other clients that he had to, get ready to prep. And he was, I think he just got married. I mean, we stay in contact. He just got married, so him and his fiance were always talking, But, and they have their data plans and everything like that for Nepal. Well, I'm from the West. I don't. Yeah. So I had my international plan, and it was just hit and miss. But I almost wish it was more unplugged. Yeah. I expected a little bit less technology even than there was. Yeah. But it shouldn't surprise me. I mean, it shouldn't surprise any of us. Yeah. Here they're washing clothes on rocks with brushes and rocks, but they're all on their cell phone talking to their friends, But,
priorities.
Yeah. Yeah. But then, you go to a tea house and they're running on solar power, because they don't have electricity once they get rolling up the mountains. So. Oh, wow. But yeah, no anxiety. Dude, it was I didn't have any anxiety the entire trip. No anxiety, no stress. I mean, it was super stress-free.
That's I think the appeal, though, for people at home, too, and on Facebook, I think that it's like, you have a 9-to-5 job. well, not a real 9-to-5 job. I mean,
Right.
but you have that job. You have your small town life here, but then all of a sudden you're like out there going to these places and doing these things. I think that's pretty exciting for people to watch that and then be like, oh yeah, but then you're just back in your little small town, little brewery, and people can be like, oh, hey, how was that? Like, that's interesting. That's all interesting for all of us back here in our humdrum little lives to live vicariously through Cole Waltner out there, getting it. That's exciting.
Starting to. Yeah.
Now, you said something to me a week or two ago whenever we saw each other, that since then, now, is it since then? Is it before then? What you said that you have had this thing come across you where you just you're just wanting to soak up learning, that you're just wanting to experience more things and just learn. It's kind of opened up I don't know, is it a new desire or is it...
I wouldn't say it's a new desire. I mean, obviously we've talked before and I've always loved learning. I always like gathering information, but it was something about this trip where, I didn't speak the language. I mean, there's people from all over the world there, but not everybody speaks English. So you're getting bits and pieces of different cultures in this country, and we're all going there for the same goal. I mean, we're not all going to Everest Base Camp. Some are summiting different peaks. Some are going to 3 passes. Some are just going for a little bit of a hike. I mean, they all are doing different things, but we're all there basically for the same goal. And, I got to experience, like, I learned a Nepalese card game called Dumal. There was Hindu festival going on while I was there, Diwali, and then talking to people, like there was people in my tea house from Russia, Germany, Afghanistan, Singapore, Myanmar, I mean, all over the world. And so we all had these little snippets we tell each other things, and then you start being like, I mean, how big the world is, but now we're all here in this little area. And for some reason, it just made me want to gather all the information I can.
Yeah.
And I've always had that, but it just like burning now, even more than before.
It's like once it got fed a little bit, it's like, oh, okay, now it's really lit another bigger fire.
Get a little taste of it.
Yeah.
You just want to like immerse yourself in it.
Yeah. And I think it made me realize why, right out of high school, I wanted to be a history teacher, and paths went different. I didn't do that, but it just, I don't know, man, it's hard to explain. I mean, something happened over there, and it just, I don't know. It's hard. I can't put one thing on it.
I don't know. To me, I look at it like it's got to be almost like a broadening of horizons, that all of a sudden when those horizons are broadened, it's like, okay, now what's on the other side of that next horizon? There's more horizons out there. I don't know. I think sitting in those rooms, I sit here and I try to plug myself into that. And I feel like I'm a lot like you. I found this out about you years ago. We started kind of exchanging books years ago, that education didn't stop for you. A lot of people, I feel like, get out of high school and they're like, I don't got to read a book again, or I don't have to learn anything anymore. I can just go and whatever. And I still read a lot. Obviously, you still read a lot. And so you're trying to learn. There's a desire to learn new things and explore new things, whether we're just sitting here in our little hometown or whether you're out there getting it. But I can see how, getting out there, I would see that would really catch fire in me too, to just be like, oh, there's so many more things now that I have to consume. Now that I've found these things, there's so much more to consume. I'm not just satisfied with just this now.
Right.
Now there's just so many more things to consume. One thing I've been thinking about, when you're sitting there and you're meeting people from all these different countries and you're sitting in a tea room together, I mean, are they asking you about you? Like, what do you do in the United States? How do you find yourself here?
Absolutely.
And so you're telling them what? That, hey, I'm from Montana. Most of the time I'm a county sheriff's deputy. And like, I think that they found that super interesting.
Photographer, sheriff's deputy,
Yeah. So most of them, and that's exactly what I told them. I'm from a little small town in Montana, and everybody seems to know Montana now. And I think a lot of it has to do with Yellowstone, the TV show, which, sidebar, a lot of people in other countries don't understand the different languages, don't understand cowboy. So people actually translate it into horse pirate. For real.
That's awesome.
I learned about the term horse pirate when I was over there. I'm like, that is the coolest thing
That
ever.
is awesome. Horse pirate. That's
Instead of
great.
cowboy. And I can't remember what country it was, but I was talking to some people and they're like, yeah, we don't understand cowboys. So we had to explain it to them as horse pirates. And I'm like, that is awesome.
My language is forever changed on cowboy.
Right?
Horse
Yeah.
pirate.
But no, I would tell them I'm from Montana, in the mountains. And they must be like, well, this must not be so crazy for you because Montana's full of mountains. That's what Montana means. I'm like, oh no, this is totally different mountains. And then they find out you're in law enforcement, and that just opens up a whole nother world. And then they see all my camera gear and like, well, you're a photographer too. Yeah. And I mean, they were just blown away by it.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine. So I find that anybody, I don't know, people are always interested in Montana anyway. For some reason, there's a wildness here. Mm-hmm. But people seem to be. But yeah, but this has got to be like small time. When you get out there, you're like, oh, those horizons and those mountain peaks around you were just like, they're massive. What was that like to be standing at the foot of those?
It was everything I imagined it would be. I mean, since I was 18, this is something I wanted to do. And when I got there and just started standing, here I am at 15,000 feet and these mountains are towering over me at 23,000. And just like how small we are.
Oh, yeah.
And how grand this planet is. It was just, you couldn't explain it. I mean, it was spiritual. I totally had, that kind of feeling the entire trip I was there. And just trying to take it all in. It was almost too big to comprehend at times.
Wow.
When, there's pictures where I'm standing at 16,000 feet and I look like I'm at sea level with the way these peaks are rising above me. It just...
Yeah, they just kept going up.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's just monumental. I mean, they're just unexplainable, I guess.
Yeah.
To a point. And I mean, but even here, when you go up the Beartooth Pass and you're starting to hike around there, I mean, it feels that way at times.
You get up on some of those and it looks like a picture. It doesn't even look real. It's so, just so over. Yeah.
And then going there and it's just a totally different feeling,
Wow. What was your first impressions when you got there? Like when you first get there, you get off the plane. Where did you come into?
So I went into Kathmandu.
Okay.
And I flew in there, and I didn't get there till like 2 a.m, so it was dark. And the streets were pretty empty.
Yeah.
I met my guide, and he took me to the hotel. Well, my hotel that night was right next to a club, and so I didn't sleep. I mean, the club went to like 4 a.m, so all I could hear is like techno music going off till 4 a.m. But I'm like, and it didn't really register that I was here.
Yeah.
Then that next morning I meet my guide. He's like, let's go to the hotel you're supposed to be at. And as soon as I walked outside and you could see the hustle and bustle of Kathmandu, you're like, yeah, no, I'm here. And it was just like this giddy, like, I just laughed. I'm like, for 20 years I've wanted to do this, and now here it is. I'm here. And it probably took that first day just to be like, yeah, this is actually happening, and I was like a giddy little kid.
Yeah.
I mean, it was cool.
Yeah. Yeah. That's, I can.
It's like a dream come true. Like,
yeah. You got to be just walking around just being like, holy cow, like this doesn't even feel real. Yeah.
Very surreal.
Yeah. Super surreal. It's like, what the hell? I'm actually doing this, and
what was your experience with the people over there as far as like, were people friendly? Were they welcoming?
Yep, absolutely. Well, tourism is probably Nepal's biggest moneymaker. I can't remember how many people they say a year go to Nepal for tourism, because there's just not Everest. There's Annapurna, there's the jungles. I took an extra trip and went to the jungle when I got back from base camp. There's this whole country that's full of tourism. And so the people there are super accommodating, super nice. They want to have conversations with you. I didn't feel any animosity being an American over there at all. It was the exact opposite. I had visited with the people at my hotel all the time. The security guy at the hotel, we visited every time we ran into each other. They were really helpful with directions. Super, super nice.
And the landscape is so varying over there. There's from like snow mountains, like you said, to jungle and all animals.
And the jungle was in Nepal?
Yeah, it was Chitwan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think most of the time, we all just think of the mountains.
Just think of snow mountains and, that type, but you don't realize. But there's a lot of varying.
And it's a lot like here. When you say Montana, we think of mountains. We don't think of eastern Montana or the Badlands or the high plains up around Havre and that kind of thing. We think of mountains.
Yeah.
So yeah, Nepal's the same way. Everybody thinks of Everest, the Himalayan mountains, but there's a whole landscape there, the jungle, the river bottoms, they have tons of farming around where I was at. So you got these great big fields of whatever, and their growing season's 12 months a year. So there's, it's cool. I mean, and for me, I didn't really put two and two together either until I was actually there, that there's more to Nepal than just the mountains.
Yeah.
How
were you getting around most of the time? I mean, from Kathmandu to, from getting out traveling all the way out to like Everest Base Camp, how were you guys getting around?
So normally you can fly from Kathmandu to Lukla, the Tenzing Hillary Airport, which is dubbed the most dangerous airport in the world. But this time of year, and for this year, the Ministry of Tourism and the government, they were like, no, we can't do that because there's too much traffic going in and out of the international airport. They picked a different airport, which was like a 4-hour car ride through the hills for like a 12-minute plane ride to Lukla. So I went, it's called, and I'm going to butcher the pronunciation on most of these things, but it's like Ramshop is the name of the village. So it took 4 hours, and I left like at 2 a.m. And my company that I went through, Trekking Nepal Planner, they hired me a car and a driver, and we drove through the mountains in the middle of the night, dropped into this little village, and I waited there for like an hour and a half, hopped on this plane. 22 minutes later, I'm in Lukla in the mountains.
Why is it the most dangerous airport?
Because it's at almost 10,000 feet, and the runway, I have a picture of it, we'll look at it in a little bit, but the runway is going uphill and sideways.
Oh.
And
that'd be a little nervous.
The weather, there's a short weather window.
I'm not flying into anything.
Yeah, I was about to say, so you just identified a place we're never flying into.
Never.
Because
I have a fear. It's stupid, but
yeah. It was like, but that's part of the adventure.
Oh,
to be like, I flew in this little airplane to this airport.
I'm right there
sideways.
With you. But you would never know. I mean, the pilots there were so skilled. I mean, how many flights do they do a day through up there? I mean, there was 3 planes, 3 different companies that were doing these flights, and it was like every 27, 28 minutes, here comes another one, here comes another one, here comes another one. They're taking people back, they're driving people there.
Oh, wow.
And then so once I got to Lukla, it was my feet, my Kenetrek boots, and off we go.
Wow.
And then on the way back, the same thing. Went back to Lukla, and then hopped on the plane, flew down to the low country. That time I took a bus all the way back to Kathmandu, and then stayed in Kathmandu a couple of days, took another public transportation bus all the way over to the jungle, which is really hard when they don't speak any English.
Oh, wow.
So I'm just trying to guess that I'm on the right bus.
Yeah.
They stop, they use the bathroom, they have these little kiosks where you can get food and stuff like that, and it's all, they're speaking, in Nepali language, and you're like, well, I hope I find the right bus that I'm supposed to get onto, and I think he said 20 minutes. I'm not sure. So you just kind of keep the corner of your eye, look at that bus, and make sure it doesn't leave. And I made it to the jungle at Chitwan, and then thankfully my company was super awesome. There was a guy with a sign holding my name. I walked over to him. We hopped in this little Toyota pickup and went to my lodge in the jungle, and then
he's speaking English pretty good.
Yeah, he spoke broken English. It was
okay.
It was. I mean, I could understand it
enough to where you were. Okay.
Yeah, and then I met my naturalist, and he kind of laid me out for the 3 days I was in the jungle, and I went around in a boat along the river. I took a Jeep ride through the interior of the jungle, and then same thing on the way back, public transportation, the whole 9 yards.
Wow, amazing.
And how long was that trip from there? I mean, in the public transportation to head out to the jungle, how long was that?
8 hours.
Bus
ride.
Oh.
Yeah.
8 hour bus ride.
Yep.
And how was that bus, man? In the movie, this is why I asked this stuff, because in movies,
you see people you picture people
there's like
standing
people on the
up
roof, and there's like goats walking by you inside the bus. I mean, is it like some stereotypical movie type scene, or is it?
No, it was like a Greyhound.
Oh, really?
And we had assigned seats, so you couldn't sit wherever you wanted. But, so you had a seat, and you sat there, and
I just thought, I'm like over here picturing like, oh yeah, somebody's like.
I've ridden a few buses in Mexico, and so
handing a chicken to you, like for you to hold their chicken for a while or something. I don't know.
And so when I went from Cancun to
that's what we get from the movies.
It was the same thing. I took a bus, and it was similar.
Oh, so no. I don't know what buses. When I was in Mexico, no. Everybody was standing up. You were crowded. It was like, yeah.
No, we were all sitting down. It was crowded. You're all sitting down, and then, but the roadway, it's like the Beartooth Pass for 8 hours.
Oh, man.
Up and down, and there's super narrow roads, and you got motorcycles going around.
Are they paved? Are they all paved?
No, it's like half and half.
Because I've seen videos of that type of stuff where these little buses are just hanging on the sides of cliffs going right through there.
That's what it was.
Yeah, trails.
Well, monsoon season lasted almost 3 weeks longer than normal. It normally doesn't. So a lot of roads were washed out, and so they got little 1-lane trails through where the road used to be, and you're on pavement for a while, then it's gravel, then it's basically rock, and then all the way through. It was interesting, and there wasn't a bad moment in the entire trip. I mean, everything added to the experience.
Do you ever doze off in that bus, or are you awake the whole time?
Oh no, I did. I ended up getting sick.
Really?
About a third of the way into my jungle trip, picking up some kind of cold. Well, and the air quality in Kathmandu and Nepal is pretty poor.
Yeah.
It's one of the most popular polluted areas in the world, and I got sick. On top of, being on the hike, over 100 miles of hiking, fatigue, the whole 9 yards, eating food that I'm not used to, water that I'm not used to drinking. So I got sick. I got a pretty good respiratory sickness a third of the way into the jungle. And so on the way home, jungle trip on the way home on the bus ride, I slept the whole way. I could no longer stay awake. And then the plane ride all the way back to the States was kind of miserable just because I was sick.
Yeah.
But it didn't make the trip any less amazing. I mean, that's just par for it. I mean, I assumed I would get sick at some point on the trip, so it didn't bother me.
Wow. Well, cool. Yeah. That's amazing, man. So you went down, you did 3 days in the jungle, then you headed back to Kathmandu.
Yep, and then I took an extra day there just to explore the city a little bit. It's a 2.5 million, I think, people live in the city, and I wanted to see it. I've never been there. I might not ever go back, so I took an extra day. Hung out at the jungle, or hung out in Kathmandu, walked around all day, tried different foods, that kind of thing, and then got to the airport the next morning at like midnight, hopped on a plane, and 38 hours later, I was landed in Bozeman.
38 hours.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And that was without any delays.
I was going to say, how many plane was it?
So on the way there, it was a lot of plane changing. Bozeman to Seattle, Seattle to Vancouver, Vancouver to Hong Kong, Hong Kong to Kathmandu.
Oh, man, that's a lot.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. On the way back wasn't near as bad. So I flew from Kathmandu to Dubai. I had like a 6-hour layover in Dubai, and then Dubai to Seattle, Seattle to Bozeman.
What did you do for 6 hours in Dubai?
Slept.
Did you?
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. I thought about trying to leave the airport, but then I'd have to go through customs and the whole 9 yards, and 6 hours probably isn't enough to even
do
anything.
Yeah.
So, but like on the way there, Hong Kong, our plane was actually 45 minutes late. Ooh. And so I was freaking out that we're not going to go to Kathmandu. But there was like 32 people on my flight that were on the next flight to Kathmandu, so they held it for us. And
nice.
Then we landed in Kathmandu like at 2 a.m, and yeah. So that was the only hiccup in the entire flight.
Wow,
both flights was
that's
just
pretty awesome.
A little bit of a delay getting into Hong Kong.
Wow, that's intense. Hey, so I'm going to set it up. Why don't you take us through some pictures and give us a little bit of background on some of these, all right?
Okay.
All right, let me see here.
I didn't even know you were going.
I was standing up and you kind of started to talk, so I quickly just hit record because I didn't know what was going to come out.
Well, because I had this whole I was going to namaste the whole 9 yards, and I didn't even know we were going. So namaste, yeah, and I mean, everybody, namaste, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. It was cool.
Let's see here.
So we'll try to go in chronological order, but no promises.
Boom.
But got it.
We're in there.
All I can see is what's in front of me, so.
Yeah. Tap that picture one more time or something to get that top part off. Oh, okay, there we go.
So that's from my hotel room. I was on the 6th floor out of a 7th floor hotel room in the Tamil district of Kathmandu, and that's looking out over the city at night.
Wow.
Beautiful city at night. Oh, beautiful city all around.
Yeah.
I mean, even for a third world country, I thought it was a beautiful city. It was dirty. I mean, it was a typical third world country city, but it was still, I mean, for me, it was beautiful. I enjoyed every second of it. So that's what I got to look out of my window at my hotel in Tamil.
That's incredible.
When I was there after the trip, and then on my extra day, I stayed at the same place the whole time.
Wow. That's incredible. What is that? Is that one big complex right there for that place?
Nope. So what we're looking at now, I mean, this immediate, it would be part of the Tamil district, and those are the tops of the hotel owners. these are little hotels probably right around there, and then the owners live up on top, and that's their living quarters.
Ah, okay.
So, and actually, I think the middle little area there might even be a restaurant. I can't remember for sure. But
Wow.
I mean, it's Tamil is like their tourist district. I mean, there was tons of little shops where you could buy everything you needed for the trip in Tamil district. But there's really good hotels, really good restaurants. There's this restaurant that I ate there on the way back. My guide told me about it, Sudip. It's called the Avocado Cafe, and it was probably one of the best salads I've ever had in my entire life.
Wow.
And it's right in this district, right down from where I stayed. But yeah, that's Kathmandu at night. It's pretty cool.
April would have us, we'd be eating salad all the time if that's how it was.
Yeah. But you're in a different country. You got to try everything.
Oh, I eat all sorts of things.
Yeah. So let me see if I can find right here. Yeah. So this was like the dinner I had with my guide company. The night I got there, he took me to a traditional Nepalese restaurant. This is called Dalbat. And this is what there were people that ate that every day on the trek.
It was funny. I follow this girl on TikTok, and she said she was so sick of eating that by the time because she went up to the base camp. It was seriously the same time you were going up to the base camp. She was posting TikToks going up to the base camp, and she's like, here we go. We're eating this again. We're eating this again. I'm so sick of this. So
by the end of the trip, I was getting tired of curry and garlic and rice and noodles. I'm like, I need a ribeye steak is what I need. But so I think on this one, and of course I'm going to try the most outlandish thing I can while I'm there. So the meat is goat, and then that green is lentil soup, and then it's just the other stuff around it, and they eat it with their hands.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm not coordinated enough to eat it with my hands, so I had to use a fork. But so that was the first dinner I experienced in Nepal was this dal bhat, and then so you can eat it the whole way up, and all the tea houses serve it. I had it a couple of different times up on the trek, but it turned out to be a lot of food. I learned the higher up I went in elevation, the less I had an appetite.
Huh.
Really?
Which is weird because you're burning so many calories. But I was just to the point where I was like, I'm not hungry. You know, I was down in the water. I mean, they say you should average about 3 liters of water a day. And so I was making sure I drank the water. But as far as like my food, man, by the end of the trip, I was just like, I'm not hungry anymore.
Is that typical? I
don't know.
Were they saying that's typical?
I don't know.
Yeah.
You know.
I didn't know if it was an elevation thing. Did you find that you were less thirsty at those higher elevations?
No.
Huh.
No, but I drink a ton of water all the time anyway. I mean, just from working out and stuff all the time. So, no, I didn't figure I was any less thirsty, but I was not near as hungry. And I don't know if that was just me or if it's an elevation thing, an altitude thing, but I never got altitude sickness. So, I mean, I was doing okay.
Yeah.
So, so that was the Dalbat. And then the next morning, that's not at the bar. I did find an Irish pub.
Really?
The day I had at Kathmandu before my trip, and I'm like, I gotta go find a beer. They have a local beer there, a couple of breweries. So it was like a Sherpa. I can't remember the name of the company, but Sherpa something beer, super good. I had a red ale, of course. I'm gonna try all the beer I can while I'm somewhere.
Yeah.
And then so you're at an Irish pub, but then they're serving Nepalese food. It was kind of cool. And then getting ready to go. There's my gear.
Oh man.
You know, and so for the entire trip, I was allotted 33 pounds.
Really?
Yep. Part of the reason is the plane that I take.
Right. They got to figure out.
You got to figure out the
how much weight they're going to be transporting.
Yep.
All that. So they break it all down.
And then there's actual laws on how much a porter can carry in Nepal.
Ah.
And I can't remember exactly what it was, but so my porter carried about 22, 23 pounds, and I carried the other 5 or 6.
Yeah.
You know, most of that was camera gear. You know, so a lot of people could probably have a little bit more gear than I had, but I had 3 camera lenses, camera body, 4 batteries. That stuff adds up fast.
Oh yeah.
You know, but yeah, there's all my gear for the entire trip. I did buy that down jacket while I was in Kathmandu, and I'm glad I did because the one I took wouldn't have been heavy enough when we got to the elevation.
I'm going to turn this up right here, April, so you can see those.
Oh, perfect.
Can you see that?
Yep. Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, but I mean, you got the windstopper jacket, the down jacket, a couple
I'm
of
seeing
different...
2 rolls of toilet paper. That was the first thing that jumped out at me right there.
Yeah. So they don't have toilet paper. They do at the tea houses. It's expensive to buy.
Wow.
You're responsible for your own.
Huh.
You know, so yeah, two minimum.
Yeah.
Made sure I had that right away, and quality stuff. You don't want your fingers going through it,
Right. Yeah.
in the middle of the night up there. And then they don't have, so a lot of the tea houses don't have Western toilets. Some do, some don't. But some of them just have the hole in the ground with the tile around it, and it's pop the squat and go.
Yeah.
No running water, and so you take a bucket and flush it down with a bucket and a handle, or a water type going down. So that took a little bit of experience to get used to. But my journal, which I ended up not using very much, I was using my phone for the most of it, and then a couple pairs of pants, wool shirts, socks, underwear.
And is your camera gear in that photo also?
Yep.
Is it bottom center?
Yeah, bottom center. There's so that little red bag had filters and extra batteries. There's a battery charger there next to it.
Oh, I'm seeing some lenses up behind the...
Yeah, lenses behind the water bottle.
Yeah.
Water filtration set up, the whole 9 yards. All my clothing was wool. I mean, that was paramount. Everything was wool.
How cold was it up there?
Well, this time of year, when I went, it wasn't super bad. So like the first 3 days, I was in a T-shirt, hiking. And like it was hiking through Montana. You're at 9,000 to about 12,000 feet in there. And I considered it lowland to me. But it's just like hiking through Montana. I mean, it was steeper, but it wasn't any bad. And then once we got to about 12,000 feet, the wind would blow a little bit and it got cold. And I think the day I was at base camp, Fahrenheit-wise, it was like 22 below that morning.
Oh, that was a little chilly.
But... to me, it wasn't bad because I was so excited to be there. I mean, I could have been in shorts and a tank top. Yep.
Yeah.
So, and then electrolytes in that little bag, that were a pretty big deal. I mean, I suck down the electrolytes every day just to replay. You sweat. No matter how cold it is up there, you sweat all the time. So.
Yeah, a lot of activity. I mean,
and then...
all the hiking you're doing.
But that's it. That was my gear for the entire...
That's it.
I want to say I took more shit with me to Mexico than I did... here.
Man, we can't seem to pack light for nothing.
Oh man, I
don't know.
Going on a trip
I'm looking
with
at that
us,
and I'm like, that's like overnight for us to Bozeman.
Yeah. But I mean, you're like, so for me, I mean, you can only take so much. So it's like, well, do I want more underwear or more socks?
Exactly.
You're going to be wearing them multiple days.
Yeah.
I came home back to Kathmandu with like 3 pair of clean underwear.
Yeah.
I should have took more socks because my socks were getting pretty bad by the end of the trip.
Yeah.
And so, but for me, and I seem to sweat like crazy. No matter what, like my boots are uninsulated up until it's like 40 below outside.
Wow.
Even here, I mean, coyote hunting the whole night. I mean, I sweat just sitting there. So on this trip, my feet would start sweating like crazy. So in the middle of the day, I'd change out socks. So I got socks hanging off my backpack to dry for the next day. So I was just going back and forth. And I should have took 2 more pairs of socks, I think, and 2
skip
less.
the underwear.
Skip the chonies because I didn't need them. But you get creative, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I was like, well, I should probably wear these inside out today just in case.
Did they give you a packing list, or did you have to come up with all this?
No, there's packing lists, and there's, 100 YouTube videos. We're like, this is what I took, this is what I didn't take for the time.
You did a lot of research.
This is what I wish I would have taken.
Yeah, and I had intentions of doing the same thing, but I have a whole bunch of video that I haven't even looked at yet, and maybe I'll get to it one day. But I think there is a video of this stuff here that shows it a little better than just the picture. Gear video. All right, here we go. So that green bag, before we start, that's what everything had to fit in except for the stuff that I had in my backpack. And then that's what my porter carried the entire trip. So let's see. This is only like a 14-second video.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
It looks like more stuff now that it's moving.
It's not.
It's amazing what you can like all fit and compact into.
Oh, yeah. So, well, and in contrast, so that was, and I was 2 pounds under. This was 30 pounds exactly. And I think with the conversion, it was 33 pounds is what I could have. This was just 31 pounds, I think, with everything there. And for a 6-day trip through the Beartooth, my pack weighs like 48 pounds to start with. Yeah. I'm just like, so now I'm excited to try to do another trip through here. And I'm like, man, I can cut my backpack in half. You
didn't take any food though, right? Did you? Or like bars, like type protein bars and stuff?
There was a few snacks in there, not much. Most of it you bottle on the trail.
Yeah.
And I was really big on trying to give to the country and give to the economy that I could. So you know, if we were going through a little village and I needed a snack,
You were buying it.
I'd
yeah.
buy it there.
Yeah, I
know.
would have too. Yeah.
So, but yeah, no food. And each day we stayed at a tea house, and you get food there. And so through my guide company, Trekking Nepal, that was all set up in advance. So when I get there, you know, you're allotted so much food, you know, you're like, well, if you spend more than this, you got to pay extra type of deal. But get there, my room's already ready to go. The porter was there ahead of me, dropped my bag off so I could change my clothes right away. And then go down to the tea house, grab some tea, whether it be black tea, green tea, mint tea, some masala. I love masala now. Super good. I drank a ton of masala. And then hang out, relax, have some food, you know, and then go to bed and wake up and do it all over again.
Sounds awesome.
It was so cool. So once you get going, and if we need to speed things up, we can skip around.
No,
So
man, we can talk all. We got time.
let me see where we at. Come on now.
How old was your porter?
My porter was 22.
Okay.
And my guide was 26. And my guide was actually from the Gurkha region in Nepal. And I'm sure if you heard Gurkhas, they were the British Special Forces.
Yes.
So he was from that area of Nepal.
Okay.
And he guides all over the country through this country.
I think they had a specialty knife too.
Yeah.
That they were known for.
Yep. And then my porter was actually from the region. He was from the Sherpa region there in the Himalayas. But so this is the airport that we left from. 4.5 hour drive, like I alluded to earlier. And this flight, from the time I got on the plane to the time I landed and got off the plane, was like 22 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah. But yeah, you're flying through the mountains, and
They're beautiful mountains, though. Look at those.
yeah. But I think here we're
Is this the runway you were saying was kind of leaning?
Nope. So this is Ramshop Airport. Let's see if we can get rid of that. There we go. So that's Ramshop Airport. It's like at 3,000 feet. I mean, it's no more higher than here, you know. And then we hop in the plane, do your thing, and let's see. I should have.
You know, this reminds me when I was a kid, we used to do slideshows. My parents would go on trips.
Yep.
And then convert everything to slides.
Oh.
And that was a big treat, was like pop some corn, turn the living room lights off, and set up the screen and do a slideshow.
Oh, fun.
Did lots of, and then sometimes we'd be like, do you guys want to do a slideshow this weekend? We'd all sit there and watch old trips. Anyway.
So there's Lukla. So this is after I landed.
Okay.
And you can see right there's a hill right in the middle of the runway, and it just drops off the mountain right there.
Oh,
man.
wow.
So, but that's arriving at the airport. And I didn't have to wear that down jacket, but in order to save weight,
Yeah.
I wore the down jacket because it had pockets, and so I was shoving shit in my pockets to keep the weight in my bags under where I needed
They
to be.
always say you wear the heaviest stuff.
Yep. Yeah. So I was sweating. So I mean, so this is at 9,000 feet, or just a little above. So it wasn't cold at all. I mean, for me, it wasn't cold, and I was sweating like crazy already. And we hadn't even started trekking yet. But then there's another one here. So this is when we're leaving. So that's getting on the plane on the way out.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, look at those mountains in the background.
I know.
Yeah. And then I did have videos, but it's on my GoPro. Like I said, I haven't even looked at them yet.
Yeah.
Of flying through there in the whole 9 yards, and then we're off to hike. You know.
And once you start hiking, how far do you got to hike to get up in there?
Oh, you start right away. Like the first day, I think we went 6 miles.
Yeah.
And stayed. Let's see, where did we stay? Finbochi, maybe? I don't know. I have it on my phone where we stayed the first day.
And you were saying you did 100 miles, so...
Is that there and back? Round trip?
Yep. Yeah. So the actual trip itself, if you stayed on the trail, is like 86 miles. But you have acclimation days where you're hiking higher, coming lower, walking around the village. Like I walked around Labochi, or Dingbochi, I'm sorry, because we were there for an extra day to acclimate. And so we hiked up from there to 16,000 feet back down, and then I spent the whole day walking around the village, going to different coffee shops, different tea houses, that kind of thing. And so like that day alone, where most people are like, yeah, we might do 4 miles, I did like 11.
Oh, man.
Just because I wanted to see everything.
Yeah.
You know? So for me, the entire trip was like 113 miles.
Oof.
All on foot. And I would have done 150. It didn't bother me. I loved it. It was awesome. I'm trying to remember where I stayed the first night. I have to look on my journal, my online one.
Do you keep a online journal?
Well, I did it on here because, like by the time I went to bed, the solar power was pretty much gone, and so there was no lights. So it was just easier to do it on here.
Yeah.
Fakdin is where I stayed the first night. That was a 6-mile hike, and it reminded me of like hiking to Mystic Lake. I mean, that's what it was like, up and down to Mystic Lake. It wasn't that bad at all. I was just starstruck by like, I'm actually here doing this, but so that morning I didn't realize it would take 4 hours to drive to Ramshop and then get on the plane. And then I sat there at the airport for like an hour and a half while they did all their pre-checks and everything like that, and gone through their security and made sure my bags weighed, everything like that. So an extra hour and a half. And then as soon as I got to Lukla, I met my guide, and he explained to me what we were doing. I had some black tea, and then we were off hiking. I didn't eat breakfast.
Yeah.
So I've been up since 2 a.m, didn't eat any breakfast, and now we're hiking for 6 miles. But it wasn't bad at all. And then got to Fakdin, and that was the beginning of the trip.
Yeah.
Just so cool. But and then
so you go to these tea houses. So how were meals scheduled out, or how did you, as you're doing these hikes and everything, you're not carrying food with you?
Nope.
So how did that work?
Sorry, I was trying to find. I had a picture of one of the tea houses in here where I stayed. Well, since it was already set up through my company, as soon as I get there, I drop my gear off. I could have some tea, and then I could pretty much eat whenever I wanted, because it was already paid for. But most of the time, dinner was like between 6 p.m. and 8 p.m. is when we ate dinner. And then, hung out. You hung out and visit. That's where you visited with people. I mean, that's where everybody was at. So, I can't find it now. Somewhere in here. There was a picture of the tea house with my sleeping bag and everything on it, but maybe, I don't know what happened. Maybe we're missing pictures somewhere in here. I don't know. Oh, well.
It wouldn't have been dropped down in those lower files mixed in.
It could have been. But, well, here, this is skipping ahead, but this is what every tea, and this was a busy tea house. This was in Dingbochi. And this was an acclimation day, and so there's double the amount of people here that would normally be in a tea house, because there's some people that have already been there a day that are acclimating, and so they're getting ready to leave. There are people coming in. So this is a tea house, and that's what it sounds like the whole time.
Yeah. I wonder how many languages are being spoken in that room.
Oh, well, so these people right here, Uva and his wife, they ended up staying at the same tea houses the entire way up and back that I did. Their guide was friends with my guide, and so I got to hang out with this couple the entire trip. We became pretty good friends by the end, and they're from Germany. And they go all over the world backpacking. I mean, that's kind of their thing. But so I got to hang out with Uva and his wife the entire trip, and got to use my German that I haven't used for 15 years when I lived over there. But yeah, so there was, in this alone, there were Germans, Russians, Afghanis, Iraqis, Americans, English, Irish. I mean, it was a conglomeration of different countries, which made it super cool. Yeah. So, but that's what the tea houses are like. And that one was super busy because, like I said, that's where we acclimate for the day. There were a couple of tea houses where it was me and Uva and his wife, and that was it. Just like the 3 or 4 of us in the tea house. And then Gorikshep is the last village before base camp, and it has 7 tea houses, I think, and they were full every day. I mean, and I ended up hitting it more. It was busier than I imagined it would be. So climbing Everest this time of year, when I went in October, November, isn't as popular because of the wind. And so it's harder to stay at the camps because of the wind. But all the other peaks around it are prime climbing. And so they're climbing Amadalum, they're climbing now I'm drawing a blank on all the different peaks around there.
Yeah, and
know.
I just saw a documentary on that guy who climbed like.
The 14.
He did it in less than a year or 6 months, or
Yeah,
I
so-
can't remember what the.
Yeah, nothing's impossible.
Yeah,
By
and he was hustling to those peaks.
yeah.
And there was so many of them right there in that area.
Yeah. So like for where I was at, you can climb Amidalum, Island Peak, Labochi, Lopsi Nutsi. So there's a bunch of different peaks that you can climb. And so Gorik Shep was pretty busy because there's a lot of climbing. And it's a busy season, which I thought it wasn't going to be. And so that was kind of taken back. Like, well, I'm not on this trip alone. There are people everywhere. But it didn't take away from it at all, because once you got to a certain elevation, people were faster or slower, and you were pretty spread out, and you didn't know there was a whole bunch of people there. But at night in the tea houses, it was kind of nice to have people from all over the world. So
I would figure it would add to the experience.
Yeah. So let's see. Yeah, there's pictures oh, right there. Wow, I couldn't remember that. So that's what the tea house rooms look like. This is a nice one. This is in Fakding. This is the first night. And it's a super nice tea house. So by the time I got to Gorik Shep, it was just plywood with no pictures, or no windows. They had like a piece of plastic for a window.
Oh, wow.
This one had power. But after this, it was solar power. And so
is that really a bed, or is that like a futon? What is that?
No, it's a bed. So most of them had basically plywood 2x4 stand with a little mattress on it, and that's what you slept on.
Yeah.
You know?
Man, that room is tiny. That's like a wide shot, but I bet you that room is tiny, huh?
Oh, probably 8 foot by 8 foot.
Yeah.
You know, but it's all you need. You're just there to sleep.
Yeah, of course.
So, and then a window. And I opened up every window I could to try to dry my stuff out, especially my shoes there.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's what you're living out of for
that's great.
The entire time of the trip. So, but they're all similar to that.
Yeah, and for those couples, I mean,
they get a lot of them had 2 beds in that same amount of room.
Wow.
You know, so. But let's see, and then after that day, the next one was Namche, which is a super famous village. It's up on the side of a hill in this little ravine. But here's Namche. I'll do a video. So this is one of my acclimation days. So I'm up above Namche. And so this is what the village looks like from up higher.
That is so cool.
And then you pan up and you get to see Kondaria and some other peaks.
Oh, man, the mountain just keeps going.
Yeah.
As you go up.
Yeah. So, but that's Namche. And so, I mean, it's one of the most famous cities in Nepal. Yeah. It's a beautiful city. Irish pub there, too. Yeah, I found every Irish pub I could.
That's so funny.
Yep. And there's actually, and it's on my GoPro. I haven't put it down yet, but I found a license plate from Montana in the Irish pub, and so I signed the wall right next to it with my name, the date, and
That's so
everything
funny.
like that. So it'll be forever memorialized.
Somebody took a Montana license plate all the way over there.
Yeah. Yep. Let's see. I should have a couple other ones of Namche. And I think there's in contrast, there's 55 tea houses in Namche. That's how, I mean, it's a big village compared to the 7 at Gorik Shep. So this is the view out of my tea house room.
Oh my gosh.
In the morning.
Gorgeous.
Yeah, that's what I woke up to. So beautiful village. There was like a North Face store there, so you could gear. There was people selling stuff all the time along the road, and it's steep. Wherever you go, you had to walk up or down stairs. Just because it's on the side of the mountain like that.
Yeah.
And I want to say this is like at 11,000 feet.
Jeez.
11,000
feet.
Which was a piece of cake.
I'd have migraines or something because of the altitude.
Yeah, I didn't get any headaches until I got to about 16,000. Very minor, and then I had a pretty good headache at about 17,500 for about 24 hours, and then after that I was fine. Let's see. But yeah, so you spend about a day there to acclimate and relax, and then you start hiking again. Man, I did a really bad job of trying to organize these, didn't I?
Yeah, it's no sweat. It's cool that they pop up. You find them. One time, one time my brother and I, we were in Colorado. I was staying with Ken, and we were in like his little Jeep. I can't remember what it was. And we drove up on top of this 14,000 peak, found a spot up there, and we tried to sleep in his Jeep that night. And I woke up, like, to go from just wherever, down whatever Denver is, to up to that 14,000. I woke up in the middle of the night. He was nauseated. I had a massive migraine, massive headache. And we woke up in the middle of the night, and the wind is howling up there. It's just rock, there's no vegetation. And we're all of a sudden, I'm like, dude, I am not feeling good. He's like, I'm not feeling good either. And we were like, I think we need to drive down off this mountain. Like, we didn't even think about it. And then it was like, we were above the clouds, and we're coming down into the clouds, and you're trying to find which rocky trail we came up. And we're like, can't even think straight about how to get down this hill. Like, it was almost a little scary coming down. We're like, which way did we come up? I don't even recognize this. Like, I have no clue where we are. I'm like, just keep going down. Whatever looks down, go down. And we, anyway, it took quite a while to get down and like get rid of that headache.
Yeah.
But just that.
Yeah, and they tell you you're going to have a headache, and there's a medicine that you can take for it, and a lot of people do. Dioxamil or something like that is what it's called. I didn't take any. I bought some, but I didn't want to take any kind of medication if I didn't have to.
Yeah.
And I know it wouldn't have altered my state of mind or anything like that, but I didn't think it would be part of the adventure to have to take it. And I'm kind of like got that. Well, we've talked about it before. I mean, the mountain men are my heroes, and I'm like, well, they didn't have any damn medicine.
Yeah.
So
I'd have been chewing on those things before I even landed in Kathmandu.
And so I was like, I didn't want to take any of that, and so you use natural remedies.
Yeah.
Garlic was a big one. That's why I got so tired of garlic, because they like load it up with everything. When they know you're not from the area, they're like, well, you need more garlic. They put it in your food.
The electrolytes, I'm sure, helped a lot.
Yeah.
That was a big one.
That's a pure way to go have a pure experience though. Is just go feel it.
I downed the electrolytes. I mean, I had at least 3 liters of water a day, and probably 2 of those had a thing of electrolytes in them. And then drinking the tea, breathing had a lot to do with it. So I had a headache. When I got to Gorikshep that night, I didn't sleep very good. There were a couple of nights where I'd wake up at night at Gorikshep and I'm sucking down air because the oxygen level was so low up there. And my body's like, you're dying. You don't have enough oxygen. And it took about 30 seconds to just calm your breathing down. And then I was able to go back to sleep. And then that morning when I woke up at Gorikshep, I had a pretty bad headache. But 4 hours into trekking on the way back down, it was gone. So I didn't really want to take any medications if I didn't have to. So here I'm drinking tea, masala. That's amidala in the background, that one that has the 2 points on it.
Yeah.
So Everest would be, there's a little bit of cloud wisp over there on that one in the far back.
Okay.
That's Everest.
Wow.
And then
I see it.
Lhotse and Nuptse are the ones in front of it that still have the snow cap on them. But yeah, that's on top of Namche. So that was cool to have tea and I think we're at 12,000.
12,000 right here.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're just we're a little bit lower than Granite Peak.
Gosh, and you're still a long ways away. You're still hiking toward that base camp.
This was only day 2.
And how many days total are we looking to get
13.
there? 13.
Oh, no. 8 up, 9 up, and 4 back.
Oh, man.
Something like that. But yeah, so this was cool. Drinking masala tea.
Yeah.
At this little cafe up on top of the Namche Bazaar there. But yeah. So that was wild. The masala tea, and then here we are hiking out. That's the next day after that. That behind me is the trail along the mountainside there.
I see it.
Heading up that valley to Everest, because there's Everest again in the far back.
Yeah.
That
what it looks, that wispy cloud coming off the top of it.
Nope, it's the one behind it even. So you see the wispy clouds, and then right behind it, the next one is Everest.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's something I didn't realize, is that you can't see all of Everest ever on this entire trip. You always see the top. But it didn't take away from anything that I ever imagined it would be. So, but that's the hiking out, and then it just uphill from there.
Lots of uphill.
Yep, lots of uphill. But like from Namche Bazaar, you're at 12,000, and you end up at 18.4, 18.5 at base camp. So it's all uphill. Let's see. That's somewhere between. Oh, this might be between Lukla and Namche. I don't know, but that's my guide, Sudip.
Okay.
He was a cool guy. Really good English. Super knowledgeable about the area. I mean, he does a dozen or more of these guides a year just on this Everest Base Camp trek.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
You know,
Oh, man, he's in shape.
so you know what he is. But on the way out that last day, I was ahead of him the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt pretty good about that. I'm like, I was in good shape for the trip.
For him, he's like, another day at work.
Pretty much. You know, for me, I'm still in awe, drooling like a little kid over
Still
this.
some adrenaline from it
Yeah.
all.
But he's a really good guy, really super friendly. I couldn't have asked for a better guide for my.
You look like
for
you're
my trip.
superimposed in front of that scenery behind you there. I mean, it just looks unreal. Yeah.
But just so cool, so steep, you know. But
Yeah.
everywhere you look, it was just like that the entire time. So
That's incredible.
yeah. Let's see what else do we got in here that's along the trek.
What's the monastery right there?
Oh, Tenbochi Monastery. That's a Buddhist monastery up on, I want to say this is 14,000 feet, almost 15,000 feet. It's up on this big hill. You go over a pass and it's up on top of the hill. A lot of people only go this far from where I think this was day 3 maybe. But you stay here. A lot of people stay here. I went to the next pass. I mean, I was feeling good. We were able to go another 4 or 5 miles. But I got to go inside the monastery with a Buddhist monk. No pictures or anything like that. They wouldn't let you in. I had to take my shoes off, take my pack off. I couldn't talk. But I got to go through this monastery with this Buddhist monk. And this area is primarily Hindu. But this Buddhist monastery in there was pretty cool. And it's a little village. There's like 4 or 5 tea houses here.
Any sense of the age of this place? How old?
I have it
How old was?
written down somewhere, but it's been
That's so cool.
it's been there forever. I'm sure we could look it up, but I can't remember off the top of my head.
Oh, how amazing.
Yeah, but it was a really cool spot. But you can see it on the way there and on the way back. So like on the way back, we were all hiking together, and got a picture of it with me and right here. So there we
Okay.
are. That's on the morning we were going back. So that's Kumal. That was Uva and his wife's guide, Stephanie. And then me and Sudip.
And where was this at?
This is at Tenbochi. This is at the monastery.
Yeah.
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 But like right after this, it's like on the way back, it's like a big downhill.
Oh, I have so many questions about this
Yeah.
place.
So, but this was a super cool place. Like you don't talk while you're in this whole area, you
Yeah.
know, super reserved, super quiet, show respect, you know, the
Yeah.
whole 9 yards, and loved it. And like I said, going inside was cool.
Was there any sounds? I mean, anything going on there?
No. Sometimes you can go in there during prayer time.
There's no
and
music. There's
nothing.
Nothing.
Quiet. Super quiet.
Wow.
Yeah. But that was a cool, and I mean, so many people get to see it, and not very many people take the opportunity to go inside. So I made sure and took that opportunity.
Yeah.
Is this do we already do this one? Yeah. Yeah. So we already did that one in
Yep.
Tenbochi, but yeah, it was a really cool spot. So let's see.
April, are these pictures giving you Far Cry 4 vibes? I didn't want to bring it up, but
Yeah.
we've been playing Far Cry 4,
Oh.
and it takes place all up in these mountains. We play co-op with each other. It looks just like the monastery and all the colors and all the mountains.
So this is before Namche Bazaar, but that's called the Hillary Bridge.
Oh,
Huge suspension bridge that you walk across the canyons. There's a ton of those on this trek. That's
Really?
cool. Yeah.
I'd love to walk across this bridge with April.
Monastery was built in 1916.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's old, but not terribly old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
You going across that bridge?
well, I would. Yeah. I couldn't get that far, not go across it.
Well, you only have like 14 of them on this trek to do.
Yeah.
This is the
Oh, man.
longest.
So by the end of it, you're like, oh, it's
So,
nothing.
in total, you're doing it like 28 times back and forth. But so you're on there. There's cows on there. There's
Cows.
mules and donkeys that are, that's how they take all their equipment across. I
Yeah.
mean, just crazy.
Oh, man.
And they're super solid.
I was going to ask you, are they rickety?
No.
You feel like you're like Indiana
No.
Jones?
Not at all. They're super solid. They hardly move,
Huh.
you know. And then you notice the prayer flags.
Yeah.
So the more worn the prayer flag, the more prayers it's sent out. So worn frayed prayer flags are the new ones. I mean, they just got there, but the more worn they are, the more prayers that have been sent out from them. So that was cool. There were prayer flags everywhere, and that's Buddhist. And again, like I said, it's like a primarily Hindu area, but they adopted the Buddhist prayer flags. And,
Huh. That's interesting.
yeah.
Because you always see the flags. I didn't know they were prayer flags.
Yep, prayer flags. Let's see. Here's another suspension bridge. I don't think this one's not Hillary, but
Have you gone through all these with your kids? Shown them all?
a lot of them. So yeah, so I mean, there's quite a bit of people on that bridge,
Yeah, there is.
you know. And this one's a lower bridge down below, before you get out of tree line. So we're probably around 9,000 feet here.
It's wild that thing doesn't look like it's above the ground very far.
Right here, it's not. I mean, they're right here, probably 6-7 foot above the ground, and then once it goes across the canyon, then it's
Okay.
pretty high. But they start out low. Most of them do. So, but like I said, they're all over up there. Well, here, once you get up high, there's a little horse, and there were people riding those all the way to base camp.
It is a little horse, huh? They're not very tall.
Yeah, they're not very tall at all. Maybe, gosh, I'm not good at measuring horses, but maybe 9-10 hands. They're small.
Yeah. Wow.
Super small.
Hardy.
Yeah. I don't know if I would have been on one, because once you get so high, we're walking through the glacier and this old, lake bed around Gorikshep, and there's all these rocks and everything like that. I'm like, I don't know if I want to be on a horse, but they're super. I mean, that's where they live. That's
their terrain, huh?
Yeah. So, and I can't. We ate lunch here at this spot, and there's
And people are riding these horses, or are they leading them on?
No, they're riding
on those. I mean, on those suspension bridges.
No, they ride them.
Wow.
Yeah. So there's a suspension bridge right behind the horse.
Oh yeah, there it is.
Going across the river right there. There's a river right here. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but and then you keep going higher and higher and higher. Yeah, like here's one of the days. So we on the way, this is lunch. So I'm eating lunch there. There's fried rice.
Man, I'd be all over this.
With eggs.
Yeah, I'd be all over that.
Perfect.
Yeah. Meat. I didn't eat meat very often while I was there. It was pretty much a vegetarian diet. They don't have a whole lot of refrigeration, so the meat that's there is come up on yak or cow or mule or donkey. So it's whatever temperature is outside is pretty much what it is. I did try eating meat one night and got super sick. I mean,
Oof.
stomach problems right there. And so I stayed like, yeah, I'm not going to eat meat. So a lot of eggs, a lot of rice, a lot of noodles.
Yeah.
But this is lunch.
Looks filling, man.
With a couple of cups of tea.
That scenery in the background still doesn't look real. Looks like one of those fake, school backdrops.
Yeah.
That's funny.
And then this is there's a bridge right there behind me.
Oh, okay, that's what that is.
Yep. So yeah, eating lunch every day and views like that, I didn't complain about.
Yeah.
Ever.
Wow.
Yeah.
And are they able to? I mean, are they able to run that? Are people going up there year round?
Yeah. Well, monsoon season is pretty minimal. I mean, it's raining so hard and stuff like that they don't have much of a climbing season. In the winter, it's way less, but they still do trips in the winter. Their winter, and then spring is a super busy time. And then when I was there, it was pretty busy.
Okay.
In October, November. So, and then you're in the national park. This is all national park. So we had to buy passes and everything like that to get through. I thought it was on here. It might be on Instagram, but I had a picture of the entrance through the park.
How long did it take for you to get permits or what you had to?
20 minutes.
Really?
Yeah, it didn't take super long.
You didn't have any waiting period on anything to get any of this?
Not really. No. Let's see. Yeah, I don't have it in here. I thought I did. I thought I had a picture of one of the entrances through the parks.
Were you meeting a lot of people that this wasn't their first time? I mean, are people doing this multiple times?
Yeah.
And it's just a regular thing?
Yeah, which I thought was interesting. But yeah, a lot of people are like, well, this is my third time. I just love it here so much. This is my third time. Or they do different routes to the base camp because there's more than one. There's the one that I did, then there you could have gone through 3 passes, which you go up through these mountain passes, wrap back around, end up at base camp type of deal. A lot of people would hike up and then take a helicopter ride back. I think that's, I don't know. It's only half the trip to me.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, maybe if you've done it a few times, but I don't know. I don't think I agree with you on that one.
Yeah.
I would feel like I was copping out, flying out of there.
Yeah. And a lot of people were getting evac'd out because they were having altitude problems too every day.
Oh,
you know,
man.
I saw people getting evac'd out. They couldn't handle the altitude.
That's got to be expensive.
So,
do you buy insurance for this trip?
Yes. So you're required to buy travel insurance that includes helicopter evac if you need it. But it wasn't bad. I think I went through Blue Cross Blue Shield travel, something like that, and I think it was like $170 for the entire time I was in Nepal.
Yeah.
And that included if my plane got delayed or something like that, or I missed a flight, that included trying to get a new flight or something like that. But really super cheap. And I was expecting it to be super expensive, but travel insurance isn't bad at all.
And you were saying that your phone didn't work up there, but are other guys, like your guide, he's on the phone up there?
Yeah. So I used an international plan, so I had spotty service here and there. A lot of people, and I didn't know about this until it was too late, that you can buy a SIM card there and use their cell service.
I see.
I didn't do that. But there was cell service the whole way up.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy. I mean, like I said, it's, basically third world mountain living, but we're all on cell phones,
Jeremiah Johnson, he didn't have a cell phone out there.
No, he didn't.
No.
But, yeah. And then, let's see, here's one of my favorite places in the whole trek was called Dingbochi, and that was a place where we acclimated. So this was at 14,000 feet, and then we end up at 16,000 feet on the hiking up above it. But this is one of my favorite villages on the entire trip.
Oh, okay. Wow, look at that shot.
Yeah, this is just a picture of the mountains from Cafe Himalaya, and they had a whole little museum in there to Hillary.
Really?
A bunch of pictures of some of his original climbing equipment and stuff like that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Did you see that shot, April?
Yeah.
How those clouds are almost I don't know how what they're doing right there, but how they're kind of ringing that whole mountain.
Yeah. And this was not normal for the trek. Most of the time it was super blue skies, which I was hoping for this more often for pictures, but it was super blue sky. And I didn't put any on here, but if you go to Instagram, there's some pictures, and I put one up today of Nuptse, and it's all lit up by the sun, and there's clouds all around it at sunset. Super nice. And that's what I was hoping for, but I only got it like one night of the entire trip.
I was actually looking up the elevation of Darjeeling. I've always wanted to go to Darjeeling. Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, I know it's at the base of the Himalayas. Like, how up is that? Because it's making me nervous. It's not that high, actually. I was just looking that up. It's only like 7,000 feet, the average, between 2,000 and 7,000 feet. So it's like,
I think that's lower than Cook City.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, well, I know I won't be sick. But I was like, I've always wanted to go there.
Yeah.
But
then here's a snack in one of the tea houses. That's another traditional meal called momo.
Huh.
And I think there was cheese and chicken in those.
Right on.
With
a little dumpling.
With some curry sauce. Yeah. And what was that? That looks like lemon tea.
Yeah, man.
And water. But I don't even know what tea house that was in.
Yeah, man. All the food looks good.
It was. Like I said, I got tired of garlic and lentils and curry by the end of the trip, but and then we get up to the last village before base camp. 5165, I think that's 18,300.
That's a funny sign. Everest Base Camp, 3 hours walk. 3 hours walk. 19 hours walk.
Right. 3 hour walk for like people that live there.
Yeah.
For other people, not.
It's like 5 hours.
Yeah. You got winded pretty easily. So I had already hiked 7 miles this day. And then we were going to go to base camp that afternoon. And so we ate lunch, I took a nap, and then we went to base camp. So it was 3 hours there, 3 hours back, at least.
So what is your elevation right here? You're about what, 16?
No, 18.
18?
Yeah. 5165, 18.3, I think, 18.1, somewhere in there.
Huh.
So, yeah, you're above 18,000 feet. There's no trees. There's no nothing here. Gorick Shep is in a small, like, ancient lake bed. So it's rocks and sand. Here. There you go.
Oh, yeah.
That's Gorick Shep.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That place looks like a party right there.
Yep. There's their solar power. And that's pretty much solar power. Well, that's a little clinic right there.
How many people were in that? Like, how many people live there?
Year round. I don't think anybody lives here year round.
Okay.
But this was pretty much prime trekking season, right in the middle of it. So every tea house here was fully staffed. And by the end of the day, there were pretty much every bed was full. And in fact, you can't see it here, but behind, there's a green roof back there in the back.
Mm-hmm.
There was like a dozen tents next to that, and people would stay in those too if the tea houses were full. But that building just to the right of the solar panels, that's a little clinic hospital. This used to be base camp for Everest.
Oh.
Okay.
Back in the day. This was as far as you went, and then this was considered Everest base camp. And then you would start your trek from here, go to base camp, go through the Khumbu Icefall Advanced Base Camp, and then you'd hit Camp 1, Camp 2, Camp 3, Camp 4, Summit Everest, come back out. They've moved it now to where I was at, the rock that says Everest Base Camp, the base camp is around there. It just kind of depends on how the glacier moves, what happens between where we put base camp here, where we put base camp there, but it's right in that vicinity.
I see.
There is a helicopter pad here.
These horses, are those little
Yep.
horses?
Yep.
They're just hanging out.
They're just hanging out. Not a whole lot there to eat.
Man. Yeah, how do they feed these guys?
So
I mean, they gotta be.
They bring in the hay and straw.
Jeez. I mean, yeah.
But yeah, so that's Gorick Shep. That's where I stayed at 24. And then that trail behind you is
The squiggly line going
Yep.
up the back.
Yep. So at the top of that is the right there, that little flat spot would be the helipad,
Okay.
and then you can summit to the top there. You can't see it in the frame, but I got pictures of it somewhere else, maybe on stuff that I haven't downloaded yet. But that's called Kala Patar, and it means black rock.
Okay.
And a lot of people. So my intention after base camp was to hike up there and wait for sunset, because Everest gets lit up just like Nuptse does, but the clouds came in and completely covered Everest, and so there was nothing there to see but fog.
Yeah.
Uwe, the German that we talked about earlier, he went up there with his wife that night to the helipad and got super sick. He got altitude sickness, and he's like, there was no reason to go because Everest so you couldn't see it. You couldn't see any of the mountains that night. And then I could have gone in the morning when I woke up. I could have gone in the morning when I woke up, and it was just super bright, and Everest was just shining. I mean, I wouldn't have got any pictures. It was just shining like a quarter, on the sidewalk. So I didn't even go up there. But I could have, I guess. So let's see. And so here's hiking to base camp. So that's the Khumbu Glacier.
Okay.
Right there behind me, that's
Right
all the
behind your
sand.
shoulder.
Yep, right behind the sand and silt that deposits in it every year. And then Everest is straight over my head, that little itty bitty peak.
Okay, the one right above your head, right in the back.
Yep, right in that little V. That's Everest. So to get to Everest, you have to go over this series of mountains. You go through the Khumbu Icefall, which, if you're looking at the picture, my left hand is, you see the valley right there?
Yes.
And all the crinkly snow, that's the Khumbu Icefall.
Oh, man.
So when people are climbing Everest, that's where all those ladders and stuff that are going across the crevasses and stuff, that's through there.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So there's the Kala Patar.
Oh, wow.
Okay. So you can hike to the top of that and you get a pretty good view of Everest. And then the one behind it that's all lit up is Pumori.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's the clinic. The white building there is the clinic.
Okay.
Yeah. But that's the village, man.
Oh, man, super desolate.
Yeah. So
Like
awesome.
No vegetation.
No, there's no vegetation.
It's just everything is extreme.
Yeah. And it was so cool. I mean, I loved it. how extreme it was.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just that. It's exactly what I pictured.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's Kalapatar and Poomjori. So
what is like? Is there any difference or like a noticeable difference in the length of day there? I mean, like here in the north, like we have longer days in the summer, shorter nights. Yeah. Like, is it?
I didn't notice it.
Okay.
You know, I'm sure there was. I mean, because we're at a different Latin long, but I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't honestly pay attention to it. So.
Okay.
And then here we are, Everest Base Camp. There's the rock.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Let me. There we go. I'm over here running things at the same time, trying to make sure I don't mess anything up.
Yeah.
That's a great rock shot there.
Yeah, right on the Khumbu Glacier. So yeah, every time you type in Everest Base Camp, this is the first thing that pops up is this rock. And they used to have another rock that said Everest Base Camp, but it moved. It got rolled by the glacier, so they had to make another one. But,
now I always think of glaciers as moving slowly, but they're not moving very slow, huh?
I mean, they're moving slow.
Slow is relative.
Yeah, but as far as like the earth and ice is freaking moving. It's moving pretty fast, you know. Here we go. This is the money shot.
Yeah, it is.
There you go. Standing on top of Everest Base Camp.
Bunch of prayer flags. Is that what's draped down there?
Yeah, there's flags draped all over around there. And then, so base camp for this climbing season was directly behind me on this little flat there, kind of in the left-hand corner.
Okay.
That's where the big actual base camp was.
Wow. Any sense of how many people were there
I don't.
Camp?
So they say like 30,000 people a year
go through there.
End up going through the actual base camp between the climbing seasons. And that's...
Okay. That's not. Is that how many people are actually summiting? No,
but that includes your staff.
Okay.
There's people that there's a makeshift hospital there. There's chow halls. I mean, there's a whole little tent city there.
Yeah.
During the climbing season, and then it all gets taken out. But yeah, so I think they said like 30,000 people a year.
Wow.
End up through the Everest Base Camp, the actual base camp during the climbing seasons. Yeah. So that was the culmination. I'm not gonna lie, that was a pretty emotional time.
I bet.
You know, it wasn't so much when I saw the rock and saw Everest. It was when I climbed up there.
Yeah.
And realized that this is the culmination of this trip that I've wanted to do since I was 18 years old.
Yeah.
I mean,
you were here, and that was it.
Yeah, it was. You know, and like I said, there was a spiritual connection with this whole area.
Yeah. And
just standing there and making it. I mean, it's 45 miles one way, you know.
With one of these trips, though, the lead up to it is almost just as exciting as the getting there. You know, it's like you've been leading to it for so long and having this that you get there. And it's like, it's almost like a bittersweet, you know, like you're like, oh, I'm here, you know, but that,
It was. So, yeah, you're right. I mean, after the emotions and everything settled down and I was like, holy shit, I'm here.
Yeah.
This is it. And then I'm like, oh.
I'm done.
I was there. You know, you're walking away from it and your back's to it now and you're like, oh, I was there.
All this time.
Now I'm leaving.
Yeah. You know? That emotional. Yeah, I can't.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. It was super emotional. You know, but I mean, it is for everybody.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know how it couldn't be emotional for you, you know?
Yeah. So much preparation and so much thought and focus to get you to that point.
Yeah. Here we are again. More base camp.
Okay. You can see a little bit off to the side there.
Yeah.
Yep,
So
these are all great
Everest
shots.
If you look in the top right corner, there's that little bit of rock sticking out in the top right corner. That's Everest.
Okay.
So the Khumbu Icefall is about the same. If you look behind the rock, the way that rock is angled, the Khumbu Icefall is directly behind the rock going up that canyon.
Okay. I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah. But that was, like I said, that was so cool to be there.
And did you stay there then?
I stayed there. Night? I stayed here for about an hour and a half, and then went back to Gorikshep.
Oh, okay.
For that night. So, and here we are with my trusty guide, Sudip, and then that's the company, Trekking Nepal.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is there a logbook? Did you?
No, there's no logbook. pretty much everybody was doing what I was doing, and there wasn't a whole lot of people here when I went. I got a really good time window where there was probably only about 20 other people at the base camp rock. So we all just kind of filtered our way through, let everybody take pictures, do their thing, and then we left. The only thing that I should have done, and I thought about it like 2/3 of the way there, was had a Montana flag.
Oh, yeah.
There were a lot of people that had flags from their country, you know, sitting there on the rock. And I wish I would have had a small Montana flag to be like, yay. But,
yeah.
You know,
now you know in the future, though.
Yeah. But I had my Montana Till I Die hat.
Yeah, there you
the
go.
whole trip. And I actually met people on the trail that were from Montana.
Oh.
Like 3 the entire trip. They're like, hey, nice hat. I grew up in Great Falls. I'm like, no shit. You know,
That's great.
Yeah. So there was a few people from Montana in that trip. 3, the total of 3. And me.
That's great.
Yeah. What else do we got?
Are people signing the rock? Are people trying to? Do they tell you the rules about that?
No. I mean, obviously there's some graffiti on it, but most people weren't trying to sign it or anything like that. A lot of people would bring like a picture or something of like a loved one or something like that.
Okay.
Put it on the rock, take a picture, take the picture away. Yeah, here's another picture.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of pictures of me there because.
Yeah, dude, you had to get them.
Yeah.
While you're there.
Yeah.
Plan on blowing any of these up?
A few. I've got a couple ideas for pictures that I want to blow up on the wall.
Yeah.
There's one of Nupsy. Like I said, man, I didn't put them on here because they're on Facebook, but that one of Nupsy is just beautiful with the clouds and the mist. And
have you? Did you post that one? Is that one?
I posted a couple of them. Yeah, I think I posted one today on Instagram. That's on there.
Okay.
So, but what else do we got here? I mean, that's Then you get your guide.
Yeah.
He gets his.
The man.
He gets his. You know, and for him, he's like, yeah, this is like the 15th time I've been there. I think this was his 15th trip ever.
Really?
To actual base camp. Yeah. So.
How many of these guys like this, do they ever actually go and summit?
Whoops. I don't know. He's never summited. And I didn't actually talk to a guide that had. Most of them were at base camp, and that's as far as they go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And your porter?
My porter, it was his 3rd time there.
Okay.
So he wasn't really big on the camera.
Really?
No, he didn't want his picture taken a whole lot. None of that. And the porters, there's like shortcut trails. They would take those, so they were ahead of you. You know, so your gear would be at your tea house before you got there.
Oh, well, that's interesting.
Yeah. And they don't make a lot of money, the porters. So, I mean, he got a pretty good tip from me by the end of the trip. But, they just pack their gear, and he had
a shortcut trail. Like, that would be like...
Yeah, kind of like well, a lot of this was switchbacks. And then they just kind of go straight up or straight down. Up. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there we are. I think this was right before leaving base camp. The rock going back to Gorkshep. The wind was howling at this point. It was cold.
Oof.
Up there. My hands froze. I think my GoPro died, so I don't know if I actually got video here because the GoPro died. I had like 2 batteries, but they just wouldn't stay warm.
Yeah.
On the GoPro. But either way, I mean, it's something I'll never...
I like the flags, man.
Yeah. I've got some pictures of the rock and then the flags on the side that turned out pretty good. I just haven't messed with any of those yet. You know, but it's hard. You know, I sit at the computer and I start going through these, and then I start remembering what happened, and then I forget while I'm at my computer, and then I'm like, oh, I can't edit any of them.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But, and then everything is just going back on the way down. So this is Labochi. That was probably my second favorite village.
That's a beautiful shot.
Yeah. That's just a cell phone picture. Most of these are. But yeah, that's Labochi.
Did you find you used your main big camera?
I used it a lot.
I
forced myself to, because that's primarily the reason I went, is to take pictures.
Yeah. I
didn't use all the lenses that I thought I'd use.
Yeah.
So I could have probably done with 2. I used a 50 millimeter, a 16 millimeter, and a 24 to 105. Okay. I could have probably just taken the 24 to 105 and the 16 and been fine. I don't think I used the 50 millimeter at all.
Okay.
I wished I would have had a 24 to 70 2.8. I think that would have been a little bit better than the 24 to 105.
Did you? Yeah. Were there videos, or were you doing some research on that, on what lenses to possibly take, or was that just one of the things that it's your own craft? You just kind of make up what you think you're going to need.
No, I knew what I wanted to take prior to. You know, a lot of the stuff they say, most people are like, well, an iPhone or an Android will suffice. And most people that's all they had.
Yeah.
You know, probably for
They've just gotten so much better. It's just crazy.
Yeah. Probably for every actual camera I saw, there were 150 just iPhone users or Apple, you know, or Android users. But I mean, it's what you're there for. I mean, I'm a photographer. I wanted the pictures that aren't just that you see on every Instagram feed or every TikTok video of,
right.
You know, so, and my guide was super cool with it. He's like, dude, you should lay here on this rock and get a picture, you know, and try to get this in the foreground. Like I posted some on Instagram of Dingbochi on my acclimation day, and I've got prayer rocks and stuff like that in the foreground, and laying down on the side of the mountain trying to get some different angles and stuff like that.
I've been looking at some of them. Yeah. That one, and then the one you posted today of that sunset. Oh, that one's a gorgeous shot. And
a lot of times you can get lucky and get Everest in that same look with the sun, you know, in the pink light, the post sunset light. But like I said, the night that I was there, it got super cloudy, super fast, and it never happened.
Awesome.
So, but yeah, that's Lobochi. That was one of probably my second favorite village on the trip.
Yeah, that's a beautiful shot.
So,
it just shows how, I mean, just utterly remote it is. It's just so remote.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. So here's how the porter I got to port my own stuff for a little bit. This was on the way back.
Looking good.
Yeah. But that's about 20 pounds of gear, and that's how my porter packed it the entire trip.
Really? And they put that strap right up over their head, huh?
Yeah. For I carried it for like 500 yards.
Yeah.
And that was fine. If I had to do it anymore, I'd be like, this gets sore.
Yeah, man. I'm thinking neck pain and a headache there.
Everybody carries it like that. Yeah. See, so my porter has my little sticker on his water bottle. Right
yeah, I see it.
This was in Namche on the way back from base camp. But yeah, that's how they carry everything. I mean, there's hundreds of people on the trail that are porting, you know, from actual clients like me to the tea house owners that are bringing gear up. But some of these guys would have 3 and 4 cases of beer, you know, for the tea houses, and that's what they were porting.
Oh man.
You know? So I don't know how that wasn't very comfortable, to be honest. I mean, like I said, 500 yards, and I did it up the steps and everything to our tea house and down a little bit of a hill, and I was like, yeah, I'm done.
So but they're not using backpack straps.
No, so like even if they had a backpack, like an Osprey backpack, they rigged it up and they carried it like this.
Wow.
Yeah. So
are you going to start, you know, hiking up to Mystic like this?
Nope. Nope.
Come on, man.
No way. Whoops. I have backpacks for a reason.
Because you meet people on the trail and you give you an opportunity, they'd be looking at you all weird and be like, yeah, a little something I picked up at Everest.
Yeah. No way. I'm not going to do that. I'll do it around town maybe once in a while. But
around town.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that was the trip. And then.
That's incredible.
Heading home off the mountain. That was a crap day. I was like, I'm not ready to go. You know.
I was going to ask you that a minute ago. That heading back, because you said you were only at the rock for how long?
Probably an hour and a half.
And then you had to head back. You didn't even camp up there, right?
Yeah, we camped at Gorkshep.
Right.
Which is what, 3 hours away?
Yeah, 3 hours away.
So immediately, some of those feelings had to be setting in.
Yeah, it did. You know, like I said, when you turn your back to it, you're like the culmination. Well, for me, it was from the age of 18 until 40 that I wanted to do this.
Yeah.
And then the last 2 years, we're actually researching it and getting to do this trip. And then I'm up there hiking in anticipation to see it for almost
over.
You know, a week and a half. And then you get there, you do your thing, and then you turn around and go back, and you're like, oh,
yeah,
it's over.
Now you got to just pick out some new big goal, something to work toward.
You know, and even like I even had the jungle trip after this, and I didn't even bring any trips for that or pictures of that. But you know, so I do this. I get back to Kathmandu, shower.
Yeah.
Oh, it was so nice to shower after almost 2 weeks. But shower, go eat dinner at the Avocado Cafe, and kind of, you know, go through all my pictures from this trip. And then I was like, man, it's over. And then I called Shasta and the girls and talked to him about it and got emotional again. I got emotional like back to back on this trip. I was like, oh, okay. But,
I bet, though. I mean, it would be
it's a lot of feelings going on. Like, how do you, just a lot of up and,
There would be a lot of emotions there. That's a big deal.
It was. And then, like I was talking to her on the phone that day, I said, my trip is essentially over. I mean, the icing on the cake was not the icing on the cake, but like this little mini adventure, I'm going to go to the jungle, it was there. But as far as like the reason I went to Nepal is over.
Yeah.
I mean, what am I going to do next? I mean, I was already thinking about what do I want to do next? What is
Antarctica?
I'd love to. I think I want to do Kilimanjaro.
Yeah.
And I want to summit Kilimanjaro.
Yeah.
I've never been to Africa.
You're going to catch the bug, man.
Probably.
And you're going to be starting to, now I got to go summit this. Now I got to go summit that.
I'd go back and summit some of these peaks. There's a couple of peaks that don't require a whole lot of mountaineering.
Yeah.
And I could summit those.
Yeah.
And I might. I wouldn't mind I'd go back. If somebody said, hey, let's go back to Nepal, I'd go tomorrow.
Dude, I bet you there's a lot of guys who go and summit Everest that don't have a lick of training.
It's money.
It is money, yeah.
And I don't have that kind of, and like my company, they were super excited with the pictures I took and everything like that. And they're like,
are the guys getting sponsorships though?
I don't know. I don't know if they are or not. I'm sure a lot of them do it anymore. Yeah. But, some of them just have the money to go.
Yeah.
It's a rich man's game pretty much.
It is, yeah.
But my company was super excited and the Trekking Nepal, and they're like, well, look, we've had people ask in the past if there's photographers that would memorialize their trip. He's like, would you mind if this were to happen, if we gave you a call? I'm like, call me tomorrow and I'll be back.
Yeah.
Right?
I'll figure it out, So, I mean, there's always that possibility. I mean, it's not high up there, but there's a possibility that could happen. And I'd go back. I do want to try to climb a couple of other peaks, and I'd go back there. But I think my next big trip is Kilimanjaro.
Yeah.
As far as exploring something. But like we talked about before, this also gave me this huge appreciation for how much there is around here.
Yeah.
And how much I haven't explored here. And then you turn me on to a book that the whole book is about this 300 square mile area that we live in. And I'm like, I've never been there.
Yeah.
There's so many places in Montana. It's so funny how you live here and you just never go.
I'm glad I came across that because, we get caught up in work and don't get out and go do things a lot. But that has really fired up some things in me too, as far as like, wow, there's some other areas I need to go see. There's other.
And does he know how
things.
we ran across him?
I mean, yeah, I think so. We were actually.
It was the funniest story.
So I had my one wheel and I'd got a scooter for April. I'll have to show it to you. It's beefy. It'll do 40 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And
really?
Yeah. It
and
doesn't
it's got
mess
like
around.
off-road suspension on it.
Huh.
It's a beast. I mean, it goes uncomfortably fast.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, so we went up there and we were on the rims. We were just riding on the rims and I don't know, just
came across all this.
Actually, wasn't there a guy we ran into? He's like, oh yeah, there was a guy. He's like, well,
the graves up there.
He's like, hey, you guys. I don't know. We just ran into some guy on the trail, and he was just like, oh yeah, and then there's there's Yellowstone Kelly's grave up there. And we were like, okay, there's a grave up there. Like I don't even know it. And we were just kind of over there, almost just right above the Metra, because it's overlooking the Metra, and you just kind of go up there and. We're like, okay, there's a little trail up here, and there's a little walkway, and you go up there, and there's all of a sudden these big displays, and there's a big slab of granite on the ground, and we're like, what is this? Somebody put a lot of money into this, and there's all these really neat historical, telling the story of this and this and this, and old photos of everything.
Yeah,
and then you continue on the trail, and there's another big display, and it keeps on.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's how we found this, was just riding, and then all of a sudden we're like, oh, there's a ton of information up here. And then it was after that I got into some of these other books, or that maybe it was during that period, but then not too long ago I was like, man, I forgot about that gravesite up there, and I looked it up and found his book and started it, and you quickly surpassed me in reading it though. You were already like, yeah, I'm already past that part. I'm like, I read it at night when I go to bed. I get about 15 minutes, 20 minutes in as I'm going to sleep, and so I was like, holy cow, he's already He's already past that part now.
Right. That's why I don't have all the pictures I was supposed to have, because instead of going through pictures and editing, I started reading, and I'm just like, oh, yeah, I'll finish the book tonight.
Yeah.
So
I don't know, but it really does show there's adventure all around us, just like you said. There's, I mean, we live in Montana, which is one of the greatest states for adventure, even still to this day. And there's a lot of history. But there's a lot of things to go out and go see and accomplish here, too.
There are.
So,
and that was, a lot of the conversation I had with people in tea houses and stuff about Montana. My guide, he wants to come here so bad.
Really?
We talked about hunting and fishing and the elk, and like we went through pictures of some of mine from Yellowstone and bighorn sheep and the elk and bear and stuff like that. And they're like, how do you live like that? It's just wild. I'm like, well, it's not really wild, but they were just enthralled with it. And summertime, I mean, that's why I said it gave me that appreciation and that drive to be like, don't get complacent. Don't get bored with where we are. I mean, here I went across the world for this adventure, an adventure of a lifetime that I wanted to do. But like we said when we first started talking, it just gave me that drive to be like, I don't ever want to become complacent and bored with where I'm at.
Yeah.
And like we talk once a week about all the cool things that are just right here. You don't have to go that far.
Yeah, surrounded
to
by
adventure them. I mean, there's, the beaten path, which a lot of people do the hike from Cook City to the East Rosebud. I mean, there's that. There's Cross Lake treks in the Beartooth that don't have trails.
Yeah.
Why aren't we doing those?
Yeah.
This whole Yellowstone Kelly thing, I mean, that's opened up a whole new, like we talked about earlier. I'd like to go follow his route.
Yeah.
From the old Fort Keogh to Fort Peck, just to say, I went in the same place this mountain man went, or like Jeremiah Johnson, my hero. I mean, coming right through here, helping horse countrymen build the first hotel around here in the Trading Post, and then going to Red Lodge. And I mean, just there's all these things. And this trip made the most of that. It's just like, here's these adventures all over the place, but don't forget how close there are adventures to you.
It's so interesting to me how many people I've read now, different books I've read where somebody came in contact with horse countrymen.
Yeah.
I don't know, are there any books out there just on horse countrymen?
I don't know if there's any, but I know Gazed Upon the Beartooth has a ton of stuff
on him. I need to go
and that
check
whole
those out.
family.
Those are still at the library over there.
I don't know.
That's where I found them.
You can borrow mine.
How'd you get a copy of that?
I can't remember, but I've had it for a long, long time.
I need to get a copy of that. I don't know how I buy that, but I'm going to...
Yeah.
But I'm going to... I'll have to check into that, because that's my latest thing, too, is I just got Tough Trip. Mm-hmm. I got that in the mail the other day. I want to read that one again. And anyway, he mentions it. He mentions him. Doesn't Yellowstone Kelly...
I don't know
if he mentions him or not. Mm-hmm. I know Lieutenant James Bradley in the Montana column mentions him. And he doesn't say very good things. He doesn't spend a lot of time on it. He just mentions him. But he's like, I can't remember what he called him. I don't want to.
Right.
But but that was great, because in the Montana column, they come over from Bozeman, and then they head up the valley. They head up the Stillwater to the Crow Agency. They spend some time there, and he gives a really good accounting of General Gibbon's proposal to the Crow. He wants 26 scouts, and they're like, "Why should we do this?" And he's like, "For the glory. You get to go fight your old enemy. Mm-hmm. And they're going to get army wages and this and this." And they're like, "Well, I don't know. We can't make anybody go. They'll go if they want to go." And anyway, but the meeting, he describes that meeting really well. The detail of that meeting, and who said what, and how people were dressed, and how people greeted each other, and how just he was just documenting this somehow, from the corner. Fascinating. That's when I was like, where's Crow Agency at? Because he explains it. He talks about how beautiful it was. He talks about how there was just as far as you can see, just teepees all across that whole flat out there, just tons of them. And he said there was, and then there was some smaller foothills. He said that there was thousands of horses that they're just roaming all of those hills right there above all those teepees right there. And he talks about it when they were coming in, that the view of that with the mountains in the backdrop, with those horses and all those teepees, it was impressive, he says. And so he talks, they spend a couple of days there to get these guys to agree to give them some scouts. And then they head back up the Stillwater. He talks all about that until they get back out to the Yellowstone. And then he's the head of scouts, Lieutenant Bradley is. And so he's talking about his experiences with these guys the whole time, because that's who he's in charge of.
Yeah.
Anyway, that got me super fired up to be like, oh, like, how do I find out where that is? And then I bring it up with you, and you're like, I know right where it's at. I was like, oh man. So now we gotta like, once the weather gets better.
Yeah, it's right past
in the spring.
Just right past Rock and J on Highway 78.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So when they were redoing that road, they had to bring in a study from MSU to go through and grab Indian artifacts and all that stuff, because they were going right through the old agency. You can see, when there's no snow, you can see the old footings for the actual building, one of the buildings from Crow Agency when it was up here.
Wow.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's what, I mean, one of the biggest things I took back away from this trip was that there's just so much adventure. We don't have to go to Nepal to do it.
Right.
I can do it here. You know, and the learning, just being surrounded by that many different cultures for that long, and listening to the conversations and talking to people, and realizing how much I don't know yet.
Yeah.
You know, and that goes not just from history, but I mean, like we've talked about Graham Hancock and that whole thing, and just not taking the standard point of view towards everything.
Yeah, being able to be open to question things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, and I don't know if I would have, I mean, I've always had that, but like we said earlier, I don't know if I'd be where I am now if it wasn't for this trip and learning that kind of stuff. So just, you know, I get goosebumps thinking about it. You know, it was like a month and a half ago, I was standing at the bottom of the tallest mountain in the world. Yeah. You know, and now here I am back here and can't wait for the next one.
I know, that's what I'm thinking, man. I'm like, I know it's sad there's emotions leaving that, but I'm excited for what comes next for you, because now that it's like I don't know, it's not that you've caught a bug. You've always had that bug, but it's kind of like, hey, okay, what's next? Like, you know, got to go, I don't know, go set another goal, start working toward it, because all of that leading up to it, like what April was saying earlier, is like, that to me that's like part of it. The whole experience is that journey of the research, of all of that.
Like anytime you go on vacation or you're going somewhere new, and you're, you know, culture, and I love culture and I love food. So I'm like, when I look at places, I'm like, okay, food, you know, surrounding that, because I think you get to know a culture through food, and that's a big, huge thing for me. But it's always the lead up, and that it's like that excitement just builds and builds builds, and so that's part of the whole thing is. Yeah,
and I think I've given that to my kids too. They've been super, like when we went to Mexico, they couldn't wait, you know, so they were looking on the internet for all the stuff that we were going to do, and we did the whole resort thing with the kids.
Yeah,
but, you know, they were like, we want to try this food. We want to try that food.
Yeah.
We want to go sit on this part of the ocean. We want to go play in the sand over here. And so hopefully my kids
get that adventure.
And, you know, this trip, you know, and I think I posted it on Facebook. I'm like, if nothing else, this trip, I wanted to show my kids that your dreams, no matter how big they are possible.
Yeah.
I mean, I would have never, you know, who would have thought when I was 18 that I would be able to follow through on something that it took me 22 years.
Yeah.
But there I was.
Yeah.
You know, and Kimber's turning 16, and she's kind of going through that. I'm not a kid anymore. I'm not an adult. I'm kind of stuck in between. And I'm like,
it's hard.
I'm like, baby girl, just look what you can accomplish. You know, find that thing that you're passionate about, and
you have your whole life. You're 16. You haven't even hit it yet.
Exactly.
Yes.
So, you know, and if somebody else sees my stuff and they're like, you know, I want that drive, I want that passion, then it's all been worth it. I mean, that's as far as my photography too. If I don't make $1 million on it, and I probably won't, I don't give a shit. But if I can inspire that passion in somebody, whether they're 16 years old or 50 years old, then, I mean, that's all we can ask for as humans, isn't it?
Yeah.
And inspire that passion in you doing that, you know? So.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are inspiring. I mean, you've inspired a ton of people around here. So, I mean, that's all I think we can ask for as humans, is just do our best, help each other out, and inspire each other. So.
Yeah, well, I'm telling you, you inspire us because I'm talking about all this. I am. We've been talking about this a lot lately. We get so caught up with work and everything else, and it's kind of like, oh man, we need to get out there and set goals and go get out of work and go do other big things and go experience some things for sure. Because you can get trapped in life just going through the motions.
The routine, and at the end of the day, it's like, do you want to be known, you worked hard, or do you want to be known for how you lived and what
the
you
experiences you had? Yeah. You seen that movie, The Secret Life of Walter Mitty?
100 times.
100 times. Okay, awesome. Because the whole time I'm going through all this, I'm hearing that soundtrack in my head. Like, I love that movie, and I might be close to 100 times myself. I bring it up at work all the time. We play it at work anyway.
Yeah, I do. I watch it all the time.
But it's such a that movie is so good. It is inspiring about like get out and go do things and go experience some things. I had an opportunity to go to Iceland with my son Andre, and we listened to that soundtrack, and we were over there, and we found places that were in the movie, and we ate lunch at a building. He rides that longboard down that hill. And we drove down that hill. We're like, this is the hill, and
you didn't longboard it?
We did not longboard it. It was a long, scary hill. And but to just go out there. So when you're talking about, finally being here, like that wasn't a place, obviously, that I'd been trying to go to for 20 years. But I know that feeling a bit of being like, wow, this is surreal to kind of be here. This, anyway, so we went and experienced some of that stuff, and to be in some of that grandeur, some of that scenery that is just unreal. It's like anything that we have or you around here, but to go be in, at the base of those giant waterfalls and things like that, it does something inside of you.
It does.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody cares how many bottles of sauce you sell in your life or how many traffic stops I make in my career.
Yeah.
But they're going to care about those adventures you've had.
Yeah.
And you're not. When we're old and retired, I'm like, remember that one day I sold 700 bottles? No, I don't. But do you remember that time?
Yeah. We went and climbed that mountain.
Exactly.
Because those days of selling this or that, they all blend together.
They do.
Yeah.
They all blend together.
They do. And I love my job. I love doing what I do. I mean, it's a calling for sure, but I'm not going to remember that stuff when I retire down the line, but I'm going to remember Nepal. I'm going to remember Mexico. I'm going to remember the next one.
Yeah.
I'm going to remember Yellowstone. Those are the ones we remember. So, the dash between our dates isn't very long, but we got to make the most of it.
That's for sure. I agree.
That and try to inspire that in our kids.
Yes.
Yes. That's why when I was asking, I was like wondering, like, I don't know, the kids at this age, it seems like I just remember I probably couldn't have grasped it. Like, it would have been exciting, to see that, my dad went and did this. But I don't know if you can grasp it at that age of, like, what that is to go do something like that, especially on your own. Like, you just went and did that on your own. Like, I wonder if they grasped that. Like, that's not easy.
That's a huge accomplishment. Yeah, just to be on your own and just go do that just by yourself. And it takes a lot of courage. And
that's the mountain man mentality.
There you go. Yeah.
They did it on their own most of the time.
Yeah.
So... But I never even thought about not doing it on my own ever.
Yeah,
not
just
one time.
A solo thing that you had to do.
Yep. And when I scheduled the trip and everything like that, the company I went through and my guide, he's like, "Well, you want to go with a group?" I'm like, "No." He's like, "It can get kind of lonely without a group." I'm like, "No, it won't. I want me."
Yeah.
I want to be able to go at my pace. I want to experience my emotions, my feelings. I don't want anybody else's.
Yeah.
And so I never thought about going with other people. No, ever. And I don't know if I will on any adventure. Yeah. I mean, like Chichen Itza was great, but it was with a group.
As a group, you just feel like, I don't know, I would think you feel like, okay, I'm in a tourist group.
Yeah, and I don't like that either. I like going off on my own. I'll rent a car and go or do whatever. Yeah, I'm not a tourist group person.
Yeah, either. I didn't want it to feel like I was a tourist. I wanted to get immersed in the culture.
Yep.
I wanted to have, and I did. I mean, I got to hang out with Nepalese people. I got to have conversations with them. I mean, in broken English because I couldn't speak their language.
But still.
But I mean, like I learned traditional card games. I got to eat a ton of their food. I never would once thought about doing it as a group. And there were groups there in the tea houses, and it just like it wasn't chaotic, but it wasn't comfortable.
Yeah.
I would never think about it doing it in a group.
Yeah.
You know, now if I had my wife and kids with me, probably, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe not. I don't know. But I never once did it come across my mind to do it in a group.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Hey, maybe you can do a swap with that guide buddy of yours and be like, hey, man,
yeah.
come on out here. I'll take you all over, show you all the sites. And then next time, take me on one of those other routes.
Yeah. Well, I did learn that you can actually work all summer at base camp.
Really?
At the actual base camp during climbing season. I'm like, well, I'm married and have kids. I don't know if I can do that.
And what is the climbing season? Because it's not a very long climbing season. I guess Everest isn't a very long climbing season.
No.
But what about the other ones?
So I believe climbing season in the spring is March, April, May.
Okay.
Not even the full month of May. And then the fall climbing season is October, November, part of December.
Oh, okay.
So
you got about 5-6 months out of the year.
yeah. Yeah.
So that's not too bad, actually.
No, and like some summers or some climbing seasons, hardly anybody is able to summit anything just because of the weather.
Yeah.
You know, this year it was a month shorter because the monsoon lasted longer than it normally does, and there were trails that were washed out. There were mudslides and stuff like that they normally don't deal with in October, November because they've had a whole month to fix them.
Yeah.
So. But.
Well, man, I'm excited to hear about the next goal that you're setting your sights on.
Maybe we'll figure it out together because I don't know.
All right.
But we'll definitely get together again. We got some stuff to talk about here after we read a couple more of these books.
Hey, maybe when you get done with the Yellowstone Kelly book, what we need to do on some weekend is we'll go up on the rims with you or something and go up. We'll go meet up there maybe we'll go have dinner or something and go up there to his spot up there on the hill. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, it would.
Yeah, I couldn't believe how this thing's just right up there.
Yeah.
Just overlooking the Metro.
I know, and Billings.
How many times you've been driving by and you're like, oh, like,
didn't even know
that was a thing.
Well, I looked around a little bit, and I guess there's that little museum right there at the airport that you drive by when you leave. I guess there's a bunch of stuff for Yellowstone Kelly in there, too.
I've never been there.
I've never walked in there.
Yeah, me either.
Ever. So.
Who would have known?
That's pretty wild. Now we got to stop by there.
Yeah. Or maybe we'll do that, and then we'll take the GoPros and some gear, and we'll go to some of the places that he hiked through, and you know.
I know. I got to do we got to do the Last Stand, the Little Bighorn too.
Battle of Little Bighorn.
Yeah, I haven't been there yet. Been here for years. I've read now 3-4 books on it. I have not been there.
And it's so close.
I know.
Yeah.
90 miles away.
It's probably gonna be some religious, emotional experience for me when I finally get there because I've read about it for so long.
Read so much on it.
June.
I've read so many books on it. It's so crazy.
I'm on my third. Well, Yellowstone Kelly talks a little bit about it, but I think I've read 3 books about the battle, and then, like I said, I found that podcast, that 6-part series.
Oh, you're gonna have to share that with me. Yeah,
that's pretty good. I'm on number 5 on that one, but
okay.
Yeah. And
who did that podcast?
I've got it right here. And then he did one on Henry Plummer too. I think a 6-part one on Henry Plummer in Virginia City and the Vigilantes.
Okay. I was like, why do I know that name? Because we actually went and stayed just outside of Virginia City this year.
We went to Virginia City.
That Ruby Reservoir.
Yep.
There's a ton of history there too. It's called Legends of the West.
Okay.
Is the name of the podcast.
Legends of the West.
Yeah, I think.
I'll remember that because it's now recorded. So when I go back and
right, because there's one too, the Nez Perce War. So it talks about all the Nez Perce from the West Coast all the way through Montana, and then from where the sun now stands, I'll fight no more forever.
Yeah,
you know, whole Chief Joseph thing. What is the name of the guy though?
Yellowstone Kelly's take on that last battle of the Nez Perce was kind of interesting.
Yeah,
some little things he said that they had actually been excavating out little tunnels underground.
Yeah,
and that the Indians were just like, it's cold. They would actually have to keep moving down there. They're like, we're gonna have to fight soon to stay warm. They brought that guy underground to negotiate or talk with him. They brought this army officer underground, and they were freezing. It's getting fall, and they're just like, we're gonna have to fight again soon. Just stay warm.
Yeah, Legends of the Old West by Black Barrel Media.
Okay,
and the guy that does it is really good. But like Nez Perce Wars, his latest one, he talks about Tom Horn. He does a couple different ones with Jesse James, Billy the Kid. I mean, he just picks topics.
I've been to Jesse James' house, the house that he was shot in.
I have never done anything. I've been We went by Tombstone, but then
Okay.
some of that stuff with down there for Wide Earp and those things. But
Yeah.
as far as Jesse James and Billy the Kid, never done any of that.
I've been to Billy the Kid's grave.
Really?
Yeah. So I was driving truck one time, and well, not one time. I was driving truck for years, but this one time I found myself. And I'm like, oh, I'm kind of going near there. Like,
Yeah.
it's not very far off to go over here to Fort Sumner. And so I went over there and caught the museum. And then, then the graveyard was just down the road a little ways. So
Yeah.
I went down there. And
That's a
stood
whole
there,
nother period of history,
stood
too.
there by
That's
myself.
The Lincoln County Wars.
Yeah.
That's some cool stuff.
Yeah. I've read a lot on those, too.
There's
so.
a lot of politics in there that they don't ever talk about.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah, there's a lot of nuance that gets
Yeah.
left out in the romanticizing of the story.
Yeah. Well, that's what I've been learning too, like reading Gibbon's journal and Miles and Bradley's. I haven't read through Bradley's yet, but there's the politics that were involved in some of the treaties.
Yeah.
You know, and what pissed off Red Cloud and Sitting Bull so much.
Man, yes. One of the books talking about the politics of these things. One thing I think I learned the most of was from Stephen Ambrose's book, Crazy Horse and Custer.
Yeah.
Have you read that one?
Not yet.
Okay. Have we talked about that one?
I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe.
Because I meant to actually bring it today. Didn't I say that? I was like, I was going to bring
Yeah.
it in case you didn't have it. I was going to loan that to you. I finally found it at a place in town.
Yeah.
And that book was so good. I really liked it because he really goes into what really led up to this and why were treaties written like this and why, there's some stuff in there that just blew my mind. That you don't get taught this stuff in school.
Yeah.
And how powerful that treaty of 1868 was so it's a crazy thing what all happened from that treaty in 1868. It's the only time that the Army surrendered unconditionally.
Yeah,
and
they did.
Yeah, and they were like, the Sioux were like, no, you're leaving these forts. And no.
And then they burned them down.
And they burned them all down. I want to go try to find those forts too, because anyway, that's a whole nother thing we could talk about too. But anyway, those treaties and the politics behind it all, why they did the different things they did, pretty amazing stuff. Anyway.
Well, yeah, and like if you look at Custer almost didn't get to lead the 7th Cav.
Yeah.
He testified in Washington against, was it Sheridan? No, who did he testify against?
I can't remember right now off the top of my head, but he'd really tick some people off.
Yeah, and then he put Grant's you're done.
He testified, I think, against Grant's brother.
Was it?
I want to say it was a relative of Grant. Grant was not a fan of Custer.
No, because he testified against him for something that happened, and then he tried to meet with Grant 4 times, and Grant's like, "No, I'm going to talk to you."
Yeah, because there was corruption in Washington, and he was basically saying, "Look, Grant's doing favors for so and so," or I don't know what he was saying, but he was something along those lines that there was a lot of corruption and whatever else.
Yeah.
That book, Crazy Horse and Custer, the two parallel lives of something, whatever it's called, really good. It leads up and it starts with Custer as a boy, starts as Crazy Horse as a boy. There's so much good stuff that he gives on Crazy Horse too, because there was a lot of people that I think that there's a lot of documentation of people who knew Crazy Horse and his childhood growing up and what his childhood was like. And anyway, it's fascinating. They follow these two guys growing up until they get to there. And anyway, the end of the Indian Wars and kind of how all that was happened. It really was a tragedy how that all went down, and how it set the stage for what we have now at these times. It's crazy how impactful that Treaty of 1868 was. I learned so much from that thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, we've totally changed gears. We could do this for another 3 hours just on this
You
stuff.
could.
We'll do it one day.
Okay. All right. She's giving me the international sign for.
I have to go. Yeah, I have to go meet somebody at the trailer
Oh, okay.
to get them sauce.
Oh, there we go. See, we got to get back to selling sauce.
There we go. Oh,
All right.
there you go. You're going to remember that day.
We're not talking adventure anymore. We got to go sell a bottle of sauce.
It'll be memorialized because it's on the podcast.
Yeah, right.
Screw you and your adventure. I'm selling sauce.
We got to go sell some sauce. Hey, man.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Hey, man, I appreciate you taking the time to
you.
come and do this with us. This is a crazy time of year. It's Christmas and things like that. And yeah, I feel like this was a special treat to be able to have you just come and bring your pictures, and we just got like
Yeah,
a bunch of
that's
one-on-one
so
time with
awesome.
you.
Yeah.
So sure do appreciate that, man, and looking forward to doing some adventures with you here.
I do. Thanks for having me, and you know,
Yeah.
I love talking about it, and hanging with you guys is a blast. So yeah,
Awesome.
Let's make some adventures together.
All right, I'm down.
All right.
All right, April, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Let's go sell some stuff.